Heavenly Delusion's ending explained. Answers to your burning questions. Let's talk about the ending of Heavenly Delusion. Heavenly Delusion is the most unusual anime of spring 2023. It's the kind of story that may not immediately make sense, but slowly, as you watch episode after episode, you start feeling this weird itch inside your head. At first, it was like, what the heck happened to the world? How are they running such a high-tech orphanage in a literal dystopia? What's the connection between Maru and Tokyo? You have all these questions in the beginning, and while the story never really answers them on its own, it gradually starts giving us clues, and as you guys know, it hasn't ended yet. In this video, we are going to piece together the clues that were shown in the final few episodes to answer your burning questions. Why are there two babies? What is the connection between the kids and the monsters? Who exactly is Dr. Usami? Why did he feel so familiar? What's with the timelines? Stick with us, everything is going to make sense in a few minutes. The anime constantly switches between Maru and Kiriko's journey, and whatever is going on in the orphanage. This gives us the illusion that it's all happening at the same time. Just as Maru and Kiriko are searching for heaven, the weird everyday lives of the Academy kids continue. Only that isn't the case. Yes, these two plot lines are portrayed simultaneously, but they are actually two different timelines. Once you realize this, everything else starts making sense as well. Maru isn't Tokyo's lookalike or twin at all. He is one of her two babies. This also explains the legendary Maru touch. As Tokyo's kid, or maybe the clone of Tokyo's kid, he was born with a Hiraku core. This is what allows him to sense the presence of the Hiraku cores, and this is also what enables him to kill them. Maru obviously has no idea about his parents or his origins. He also has no clue about heaven either. All he knows is that he can use the Maru touch, and that he needs to find someone who looks like himself in a place called heaven. A woman named Mikura taught him the Maru touch and gave him this goal. Alright, we know you are wondering, just who is that woman? Who is Mikura? Is she connected to the Academy? Or, better question, is she a character we are already familiar with? Honestly, guys, answering this question would take us deep into spoiler territory, but manga readers will know better. Do share your guesses in the comment section down below. Anyways, back to Maru. He is one of the two babies, but we don't know which one. Is he the clone, or is he Tokyo's real baby? Nope, no clue. Considering how elaborate the anime has made this mystery out to be, I'm sure the payback will be well worth it whenever it is finally revealed. Moving on, let's uncover the identity of Dr. Usami and the girl who was with him. When Maru and Kiriko meet Dr. Usami and learns about the Maru touch, he wants them to kill her, or else he'll turn into a man-eater. This is where we learn about the disease that turns people into man-eaters. For some reason, this disease has a 100% fatality rate. Ugh!
Fatality.
Once you're affected, it's over. You'll eventually die and then turn into a man-eater.
Oh no!
Usami kept the girl alive because they both wanted her to die with dignity as a human, not a monster. Of course, the way she is being kept alive is with all those machines and needles. You wouldn't want to be in her position, would you? Well, as it turns out, that girl is Mimihime and Dr. Usami is Shiro. Remember that scene in episode 11 when Mimihime approaches Oma, the new girl, and looks into her eyes? She experiences her worst fear, all these needles and sharp objects butchering her body. Turns out that was no dream or hallucination. That was her experiencing her own future because of her psychic abilities, even though episode 11 happened after episode 8. The foreshadowing is brilliant, and this happened more than once. Since Mimihime's ability is premonition, she occasionally gets visions of the past and the future. When she told Kona about her abilities, she suddenly saw a vision of a man-eater. Yes, you guessed it. That was actually Kona in his future man-eater form. But she's the only one who can see the visions. She doesn't know about the context. Another instance is when she sees Maru and Kiriko on their journey. She also saw the metaphorical vision of her and Shiro's death, but then again, she didn't know the context. You see, Heavenly Delusion is one of those shows where the further you are into the story, the better it gets. Yes, all the pieces are coming together. In episode 12, there is an attack on the Academy, which leaves a massive hole in the facility. Kona stays behind to get the other children to safety and to also look for Tokyo, while the 4 other students, namely Mimihime, Shiro, Taka, and Anzu, step out for like the first time ever. Much to our surprise, the world outside the facility wasn't this dystopia we were all expecting. It was just a local forest. They think of it as the big test they were told about and go ahead to explore. Halfway through the forest, Taka and Anzu continue while Mimihime wants to go back. Shiro accompanies her, but it seems that they don't really know the exact way they came from. Then there is the scene where Mimihime falls from a cliff and Shiro jumps to save her. She remains unharmed, but Shiro obviously gets heavily injured. The confession happens and Mimihime takes a button from her coat to give to Shiro. Going back to episode 8. We can see Shiro holding the same button with the symbol that gets shown again and again in this show. Then during the final sequence of the 13th episode, we see all 4 of them getting escorted to a modern-day Japanese city on a boat. At this point in time, the world is still pretty safe. The great cataclysm that ruined everything has yet to happen. These kids are currently 14 years old, and if the heavenly delusion is anything to be trusted, Shiro was 29 years old when we saw him as Dr. Usami. Sometime between those 15 years, the kids integrated into modern-day society, the great cataclysm happened, and then those who had contracted the disease turned into man-eaters. Now, you must be wondering why Dr. Usami hadn't been affected by the disease. That's right. The Hiruko are the Takahara Academy students who were turned into man-eaters because of a certain disease. But seeing how Dr. Usami, or should I say Shiro, was still fine, this implies that not every student was affected by the disease equally. Take Juichi's child, for example. He is just a kid, but also a Hiruko. I thought it was weird how nonchalant everyone was about this. The kid is literally a Hiruko. Turns out, not all Hiruko are created equally. Maybe the kid is more like Maru and not like the wild man-eaters we've seen so far. Well, the AI robots called the students Hiruko even before they started transforming into one. This means Maru is also a Hiruko. And if he is Tokyo's real baby, then that means he was born a genetically modified Hiruko. But if he is the clone, the same logic applies, except it just makes you feel more eerie about the whole thing. Another interesting question is why Usami didn't recognize Maru's face. He does have the same face as Tokyo, but actually in the manga, there is a panel where Usami tells him that he has lost interest in other people's faces. What? It's in chapter 21 in case you're interested. Alright, so now we know what happened 15 years into the past and what is going on right now in the present. But what exactly happened in those 15 years? Why is Robin familiar with the man-eaters? Is the Doctor and Kiriko's picture involved? When did the Great Cataclysm happen? The 13th episode ended on a much lighter note than expected. It was wholesome to see that Kiriko is her usual self again, but I'm sure the trauma from what Robin did will show up soon enough. Robin is the person she trusted the most in the world, and look what he did to her. When Kiriko's memories start merging with Haruki's memories, that's when Kiriko will experience some serious mental and psychological dilemmas. It's gonna be painful to watch. By the way, did you know that the story always left clues that Robin isn't a good guy? When he beat the goons in the episode 3 flashback, he was a complete sadist. Haruki's friends even told him to stay wary of this guy, and it's also him who spread all those rumors about the Doctor. Makes you wonder if the Doctor who saved Kiriko's life is actually a good guy. Lastly, the anime staff did a brilliant job. They even changed the sequence of events to make the first season feel more complete. The ending could have been better in the sense that it should have had a much darker tone. After all, what Robin did to Kiriko is no joke. Her shaking it off with something like, "I can't stay depressed forever," felt a little off. Anyways, Heavenly Delusion is among the best post-apocalyptic anime series we've seen in a while. Let's hope they greenlight the second season sometime soon.